Vivien Leigh, the legendary actress with the immortal role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, left a deep mark in the history of cinema. However, behind the halo of fame was a life full of tragedy and challenges. So what happened to her after her great success? Let's explore the life and tragic end of Vivien Leigh in this video to better understand the story behind the screen. Childhood and early career. Growing up, Vivien Leigh, whose real name is Vivian Mary Hartley, was born on 5th of November 1913 in Darjeeling, India, where her father was a British Army officer. She lived in India until the age of 6 before moving back to England with her family. Despite being raised in an upper-class family, Vivien did not have a happy childhood. Her parents, although well off, had a strained and unhappy relationship. This had a significant impact on Vivien's psychology and growth. She witnessed the breakdown of her parents' relationship and felt lonely, even in her own family. Vivien showed artistic talent from an early age, especially in dance and drama. After her family moved to England, she attended the London School of Drama, where she began to hone her acting and dancing skills. With determination to pursue her passion for art, Vivien quickly demonstrated her ability, but also encountered many difficulties. She was not a prominent name from the beginning, and Vivien's early career was not easy. However, she persisted and began participating in theater and film projects in the early 1930s. With her sharp beauty and impressive acting ability, Vivien Leigh began to receive attention in Hollywood in the late 1930s. However, her path in Hollywood was not always paved with roses. She participated in several films, including Things Are Looking Up, 1935, but most of them were not highly appreciated. Vivien did not make a strong impression in the early stages of her career in Hollywood, but she was not discouraged. She continued to strive to show her talent in small roles and constantly improved herself. In 1939, Vivien Leigh got her big break when she auditioned for the legendary film Gone with the Wind. Although there were many potential candidates for the role of Scarlett O'Hara, Vivien Leigh, with her captivating beauty and great acting ability, beat out thousands of candidates and won the role. She convinced producers and directors, especially David O. Selznick, with her combination of charm and natural acting talent. After participating in Gone with the Wind, Vivien Leigh became an international star. The role of Scarlett O'Hara catapulted her to the top of her career and made her an immortal icon in the history of cinema. She was not only loved, but also won the Academy Award for Best Actress, making Gone with the Wind one of the greatest films of all time. Despite being one of Hollywood's most powerful couples, Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier's marriage was fraught with trials and tragedies. Was their love strong enough to overcome the psychological difficulties and pressures of their careers? Love life and marriage with Laurence Olivier. The relationship between Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier, two icons of cinema and theater, began in the 1930s when they first met on the set of Fire Over England, 1937. However, their love affair only truly blossomed when Vivien Leigh and Olivier married in 1940, against the backdrop of World War II. The union of these two talented stars immediately attracted the attention of the media and fans. Both Vivien and Laurence were famous stars of the time, with Vivien being the most famous actress after Gone with the Wind and Olivier being one of the greatest stage talents in England. Their union was considered a power couple in the entertainment industry, not only because of their talent, but also because of their beauty and charm. However, this love affair was not quite a fairy tale. Although Vivien and Laurence had a passionate, deep, and enviable love, the stress of work demands, busy careers, and personal crises began to affect their relationship. Vivien, although a screen goddess, was not as perfect as she appeared. She suffered from serious health problems, including psychological disorders and depression, which was later diagnosed as bipolar disorder. These emotional crises became a burden on their married life. Although Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier had a daughter together named Tarquin, their marriage became increasingly strained. Although Olivier always expressed his love and care for Vivien, her emotional crises were not easy to control. Vivien sometimes had erratic behavior, from sudden anger to long periods of depression, making it impossible for the two to maintain harmony in the relationship. While Vivien was increasingly suffering from psychological and health problems, Olivier also had to deal with the stress of his work and professional pressure. As a celebrity, especially in the British theater world, Olivier had to participate in major plays, while also trying to maintain a relationship with his wife and daughter, while his family life became increasingly complicated. Their love was gradually overshadowed by fatigue and emotional crises. By the late 1950s, the tension between Vivien and Laurence had become unresolvable. Although they tried many ways to mend their relationship, especially after Vivien's treatment, her health problems became more and more serious, especially when Vivien struggled with her bipolar disorder. Meanwhile, Olivier, although still in love with her, seemed unable to cope with her emotional outbursts and unstable behavior. Despite the difficult times, the two tried to maintain their relationship, but eventually, after 20 years of marriage, they officially divorced in 1960. This divorce, although not too surprising to insiders, shocked many fans, as they had always been considered one of the most famous and powerful couples in Hollywood and on the British stage. Vivien Leigh, despite suffering terrible health problems, continued to try to maintain her career and move on after the divorce. However, the price of this separation was too great for her. Laurence Olivier, even though he was her husband, could not overcome the hardship and tragedy of life with a woman who was both a film legend and faced with unforeseen psychological crises. Mental health crisis. Vivien Leigh began to suffer from serious mental health problems in the 1940s, when she was at the height of her career. She suffered from psychological problems that today would be diagnosed as major depression, but at the time these illnesses were not well understood and were not properly recognized. The depression and mental health crises that Vivien Leigh experienced were undeniable and had a profound impact not only on her career but also on her personal life. Her frequent mental breakdowns left her unable to concentrate on her work and sometimes forced her to stop taking on major projects. One such example was in the 1940s when Leigh was filming A Streetcar Named Desire, one of the most famous roles of her career. She struggled with mental health problems throughout her career, which weakened her health and made filming more difficult. Her mental breakdowns were not only private, but were widely documented in the film industry, as many colleagues and crew members witnessed the difficulties she encountered while still trying to complete her work. In addition to depression, Vivien Leigh also faced physical health problems, including a diagnosis of tuberculosis in the mid-1940s. This further aggravated her health condition. She had to rest for long periods and be treated in hospital, while severe coughing and physical weakness prevented her from continuing to work normally. However, Vivien Leigh's resilience did not allow her to stop. She continued to work as soon as she could, despite facing a weak body and depressed mood. This was one of the key points in her life, as she always tried to hide all physical and mental pain to maintain her image in the public eye. One of the factors that strongly affected Vivien Leigh's mental health was her challenging marriage to Laurence Olivier. Although the love between the two was extremely passionate when they first got married, the stress of work, along with Leigh's psychological problems, gradually made the relationship more tense. The conflicts and lack of affection in her married life pushed Leigh into a more serious mental crisis. The relationship between her and Olivier, although passionate, is also filled with loneliness and a feeling of not being understood. In addition, Leigh also had to endure changes in her image and role in the film industry. After her resounding success as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, Leigh could not escape the shadow of this character. The constant comparisons to a legendary role, along with her health and psychological problems, made her feel pressured and unable to continue to develop her career as desired. The combination of these factors created a vicious cycle of psychological distress that Vivien Leigh could not escape. Not only did she face health challenges, but she also struggled with problems in her personal and professional life, which led to her becoming increasingly stressed and lost. Along with that, her health during this period was not very good, which led to her decision to leave the stage. Health issues. Throughout her illustrious career, Vivien Leigh was not only known for her great acting talent, but also her mental and physical health challenges, especially in the years after her great success with Gone with the Wind and other famous films. Although Leigh was always a proud and strong star in the public eye, behind the aura of that aura was a person who suffered from pain, illness, and long-term mental crises. In the 1940s, Vivien Leigh began to suffer from serious mental health problems. The first signs of depression appeared in her life, causing her to easily fall into a state of breakdown and crisis. Anxiety, sadness, and feelings of helplessness prevented her from concentrating on her work and deeply affected her personal life. This situation was exacerbated by the strain of her marriage to Laurence Olivier, who was unable to empathize with her emotional struggles. Frequent emotional crises made it difficult for Vivien to maintain a steady career in acting. In addition to her emotional struggles, Vivien Leigh also suffered from physical ailments throughout the 1940s. In 1943, she was diagnosed with tuberculosis, a serious and difficult-to-treat disease that took a toll on her health. The tuberculosis left her with constant fatigue, persistent coughs, and severe chest pains. These symptoms made it impossible for her to continue working as she had before. She was hospitalized several times and underwent lengthy treatment to recover. However, despite doctors' advice to take a break for treatment, Vivien could not stop her passion for acting. She continued to act in major films despite her failing health. Not only did tuberculosis affect her physical health, but it also aggravated her already unstable mental state. The persistent cough and difficulty breathing made Vivien feel tired and easily fell into depression. She felt isolated in her own life, unable to share her painful feelings with anyone, even with those closest to her, such as Laurence Olivier, her husband whom she loved but could not help her during these difficult times. Their relationship became more strained and distant, which not only affected their family life but also made Vivien feel even more hopeless and lonely. Vivien Leigh's health continued to decline in the 1950s when she had to take a break from her career for treatment and rest. In 1953, she continued to act, but the pain and fatigue did not leave her. She underwent several rounds of hospital treatment, but her health did not improve. The psychological crises continued to appear, making it impossible for her to maintain the stability needed to continue acting. Doctors advised her to take a break from her career, but Vivien Leigh could not give up the work she loved. During this time, Vivien not only had to deal with physical pain, but also had to deal with changes in her relationships. Her poor health made her no longer the strong and charming woman she used to be, which further strained her marriage to Laurence Olivier. The couple faced many difficulties, and their relationship gradually fell apart. Olivier could not understand and share Vivien's suffering, and she felt disappointed and lonely in her marriage. However, Vivien Leigh did not give up hope. She continued to work on important film projects, including A Streetcar Named Desire, where she gave a powerful and emotional performance, but the symptoms of her illness continued to haunt her. Although she continued to work, the signs of tuberculosis and psychological problems never left her. Her health problems forced Vivien Leigh to take time off from work and take time off for treatment. But the crises and illnesses continued to have a profound impact on her quality of life and career. Vivien Leigh not only struggled with physical illness, but also with psychological storms and a persistent sense of helplessness, which made her one of the most complex icons in the history of cinema. The harshness of life and the physical and mental pain she endured became an inseparable part of her life story. And it also reflects in part the challenges that famous stars often face. But all of these sufferings led to the end of a talented artist, death. Vivien Leigh died on July 8, 1967 at the age of 53 after a long battle with tuberculosis. Her death was a great tragedy, not only for her family and friends, but also for the entire Hollywood film industry, where she had made a deep impression with her legendary roles. Vivien Leigh had struggled for many years with poor health and psychological problems, which prevented her from continuing her acting career as she had hoped. However, she maintained her career until the end of her life, hoping to continue to contribute to art. Her death shocked the public and professionals because she was one of the most talented and famous actresses of her generation. Before her death, Vivien Leigh had to go through painful days due to illness. She suffered from symptoms of tuberculosis, with persistent coughs, fatigue, shortness of breath, and frequent pain. Despite her poor health, Vivien always tried to keep her spirits up and continued to participate in artistic projects. She did not want her fans to see her weak, so she often kept her illness a secret. Towards the end of her life, Vivien was hospitalized several times due to her poor health, but the tuberculosis pushed her into a state where she could not recover. Vivien Leigh's death was not only a great loss to her family, but also the end of one of the most brilliant careers in film history. With her roles as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind and Blanche Dubois in A Streetcar Named Desire, Vivien reached the pinnacle of acting, a model of charm and talent. However, her life was also full of tragedy and pain. Not only did she have to deal with illness and mental health issues, but she also had a turbulent marriage to Laurence Olivier. Her personal life was a series of harsh challenges, although she tried to maintain a perfect image in the public eye. After Vivien Leigh's death, Hollywood and the entire world of cinema paid her well-deserved tributes. Her colleagues and those close to her expressed deep regret for the untimely passing of a talented actress. Laurence Olivier, despite being divorced from Vivien, could not hide his grief when he received the news of her death. He described her as one of the greatest talents I have ever known and a wonderful woman. Since her death, Vivien Leigh's legacy has lived on through her memorable performances. Though her life was short and full of suffering, she left an indelible mark on cinematic history, becoming a symbol of resilience, talent, and tragic beauty. But Vivien Leigh, despite her short and tragic life, left behind a great cinematic legacy that no one can deny. Let's take a look at some of the great legacies she left behind. Legacy. Despite her short and tragic life, she is still one of the greatest actresses of the 20th century. Her legacy lives on not only through her films, but also through her ability to leave a strong impression on viewers with complex and emotional characters. She brought roles through which movie lovers still feel the intensity, pain, and even tragedy of life. Among her memorable roles, Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, 1939, is an irreplaceable icon. Vivien Leigh brilliantly portrayed an ambitious, strong, and conflicted young woman struggling to survive amidst the turmoil of history and her personal life. To get this role, Vivien had to overcome thousands of other candidates, including big names such as Joan Crawford and Tallulah Bankhead. However, it was she who portrayed Scarlett's strong and determined beauty, making this character one of the unforgettable models of world cinema. The film was not only a commercial success, but also received 10 Oscars, including Best Actress for Vivien Leigh. Despite the many ups and downs in her life, Gone with the Wind is still part of her great legacy, contributing to the image of a resilient actress who overcame all the difficulties of life to reach the top. Another important role in Vivien Leigh's career was Blanche Dubois in A Streetcar Named Desire, 1951. Adapted from the play by Tennessee Williams, the film gave Vivien a chance to demonstrate her outstanding acting ability. Blanche, a woman with a painful past and inner conflict, was a real challenge for any actress, but Vivien Leigh portrayed this character perfectly. Her role made the audience not only feel the suffering but also sympathize with the character throughout Blanche's journey of breakdown. With this performance, Vivien Leigh won her second Oscar in her career and affirmed that she was not only a talented actress, but also one of the creators of great marks in the history of cinema. Throughout her career, Vivien Leigh was not only a talented actress, but also a symbol of femininity, beauty, and strength. She portrayed roles in films not only about war, but also about complex and tragic relationships. Thanks to the perfect combination of acting talent and charm, Vivien made every character she played come alive, full of charm and depth. This helped her build an image of an actress who was not only beautiful, but also strong and intelligent. Although Vivien Leigh's life encountered many challenges and sufferings, her legacy still shines and becomes an inspiration for the next generation of actors. She proved that one can overcome mental and physical pain to continue to dedicate to art. Although she died at a young age, Vivien Leigh's films have gone down in history and continue to be loved for decades. After she died in 1967, Vivien Leigh became a legend of cinema. Her death was a great loss to Hollywood and film fans around the world. Vivien's films, especially Gone with the Wind and A Streetcar Named Desire, continue to be re-released and loved. She has received many honors tributes from people in the film industry as well as the public. Her works are not only invaluable to her legacy, but also to world cinema. Vivien Leigh is considered one of the greatest icons of classic Hollywood, and her name is forever associated with the eternity of classic films. The posthumous awards and memorial events for Vivien Leigh confirm her influence in the history of cinema. She was a powerful influence, not only in the field of acting, but also in enhancing the value of cinema as an art. Future generations continue to learn from her not only about acting, but also about how to face challenges in life. Vivien Leigh will forever be an irreplaceable icon with the perfect combination of beauty, talent, and an endless passion for art. What do you think of her acting ability? Which role of Vivien Leigh left the strongest impression on you? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to hear from you. And